Aimee at EuroluxHome.com. Welcome back and thanks for hanging out with us today on YouTube. If you enjoy European antiques, please remember to like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and maybe even share it with a friend who might also enjoy learning about European antiques. People often reach out to me to ask how they can sell their antique and vintage pieces. So I thought that I would put together a 4-part series on the best way for you to sell your antique and vintage items. There are 3 things that you need to consider in order to start this process. The first is, are you looking to make a profit or earn some money on some things that you have in your home? Or are you really just looking for more space in your home and just wanting to clear out some old things that you don't want anymore? Maybe you've inherited a few pieces and maybe you really want to find someone that will cherish that item and make a new home for it. And so maybe the money isn't as important to you, but it's important to think about this aspect first. Your next consideration is how much work are you willing to put into it? You know, it's just like life. The more time and effort you put into anything, the more successful you'll be. And so, is it that you just want the easiest thing, or are you willing to really work hard to make the most money? It's important to figure that out when you start at the beginning. And your third consideration is your time frame. Do you need to quickly move some things out to make space because you're moving, or someone has passed away and you need to clear everything out of the house? Or is it just something that's in your home? It could sit there for another year and you could wait to find the perfect buyer. So again, that's something important to think about right from the beginning. So let's move on to the meat of this issue: how to price or value your antique or vintage pieces. So the first thing, step 1, is to research your items in order to create a value. So you'll need to identify what you have. You'll want to know the approximate age or the era that the piece was made. You'll want to identify the style or the characteristic of the piece. You'll want to look for a signature or a placard of a manufacturer. Many antique and vintage items do not have manufacturer's stamps or signatures, so that's not as important, but if you can find it, it definitely adds to the value. You'll also want to identify what wood or what materials are on or in the piece. Now, if you don't know where to start, our videos are a great place to start. We did a historical overview of the styles of European antiques, and we did look also at American antiques. So go back and look at our YouTube channel, search through, see if you can identify your piece based on our videos. Now, the next step is that you really do want to get real about the true condition of the piece, because condition obviously really impacts value. If the piece is really damaged or in poor condition, you might want to think about just giving it away or donating it. Sometimes if it's in really poor condition, it's really not worth the cost of shipping if you're planning to ship the item. Now, if you want to donate or give away, we always say start with your family. Maybe your children or extended family might be interested in the piece, maybe some friends that you could donate it to. There's also great causes. So a lot of times organizations or charities have their own thrift stores, or sometimes they do take donations, and then you're actually helping the charity of your choice. So that's a great thing to do. And there's also websites like FreeCycle or it's called trashnothing.com. And those are places where you can just list your things that you'd like to move out and make more space in your house, and then it gives someone the opportunity to get something for free that they really want to have. Now, the next step then is, once you've identified what you have and you've researched it and you have a pretty good idea, Now you need to figure out what it's actually worth, what the value is. And so the easiest thing to do would be to call a personal property appraiser. You could also reach out to an estate liquidator, and that might be if you have a lot of items. Again, you're trying to clear an entire household, or you've inherited a lot of pieces. It's the easiest because the personal property appraiser will go through and do all of the research for you. Now, that's not a free service because it really does take a lot of time to research and identify what something is worth. Now, you also need to keep in mind that a personal property appraiser will ask you right away, are you looking for an insurance value or a market value? And those are really two different things. An insured value is in case your home burns down, that's what you want to be able to give to your insurance company as the value to be reimbursed, the value to go and find this piece again. That is usually higher than an actual market value. A market value is what someone is actually willing to pay you for the piece. And sometimes there's a big difference between an insured value and a market value. So really, you are trying to get an accurate market value estimation of what your piece is worth. So how can you do that if you don't want to hire an appraiser or an estate liquidator? Well, I suggest that you go and search marketplaces. What you're really trying to do is find how rare your item is. If you find lots of examples of it, then it's not as rare, it's not worth as much. But if you just can't find anybody else who has sold the same thing, maybe you have something really rare and valuable. So, which marketplaces should you search? There are several antique or vintage specialized websites such as goantiques.com, rubylane.com, Etsy, but probably the big granddaddy that you should definitely start with is eBay. And a tip for you is to actually go in, and when you type in what you're looking for, then go over on the left-hand side and scroll down until you find completed listings. And you'll want to check that box because that will actually show you the market value, what someone actually paid for the thing. That may be very different than what things are listed for but haven't sold yet. So keep that in mind. Now, eBay generally only stores about 6 months worth of listings because they have so many items on there and they can't keep everything up forever. So another great resource for you would be worthpoint.com. WorthPoint keeps years of eBay data as well as other online marketplace data. And they do have a special where you could go in for free and look up 7 different items, or you can buy a monthly membership, and they have different tiers. But I think that might be a great resource for you in order to figure out the value of what you have. Now, finally, I'll throw in, be willing to negotiate. Most people, when they're buying something antique or vintage, it's part of the fun, is figuring out what the very best price would be. So, sometimes the lower the price, the faster it will sell. So have fun, and hopefully that helps you figure out how to value and set the price for your antique and vintage items. Be sure to come back for our next episode, and remember to like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and maybe even share it with a friend. See you next time.